Hello, I'm Richard Vobes and I'm out for another walk this morning. Today I'm in Littlehampton. I'm right at the end of the harbour, on the entrance to the harbour here. You can see behind me the River Arun going out towards the English Channel, and if I step round here on my left going east, that will take you towards Worthing and Brighton. On the other side you have Climping. There's some wonderful sand dunes down over at Climping, and if you continue that way for another 10 miles you'll get to Chichester. If you go north, as I am now doing, you'll get to London in about 50 miles. So I'm in West Sussex in Littlehampton, and this is where my walk is going to take me today, just along the riverside. It's the River Arun here. The River Arun goes up to Arundel and beyond to Horsham, and in the old days you could get up to London, but I'll talk about that in a moment. Firstly, let me tell you a little bit about Littlehampton, although we won't see a huge amount of it because we're just going to walk along the riverside and the quayside where there are boats. Littlehampton was a fishing community, and it was mentioned in the Domesday Book as Hanton. In fact, there's a map in France at the same time that listed it as Hanton. In the Roman times there was a fishing village, but over time it had the adaptation of the word little in front of it, and little to, I think, to separate it from possibly its sister Southampton. Southampton is approximately 20 miles to the east, and of course that's a major city, whereas this isn't a city, this is just a seaside town. Although I shouldn't say just, it's a very delightful seaside town. I used to have an office actually in Littlehampton many years ago when I was doing mime and juggling and unicycling and all of that sort of stuff. So it's quite a historic town. It's a seaside destination now. There's a theme park, well, a sort of amusement park more than a theme park. You can see the castle of it behind me. Harbour Park it's called, and one of the biggest employers is the Body Shop, an international brand of course, and that's based in Littlehampton. In the 17th century, in the Georgian period, as well as being known as the Arundel Port, it became more of a holiday destination because the Georgians, like the Victorians, wanted the health benefits of the fresh air and the salty sea, and so they would come quite a lot down along the south coast because it's not that far from London, of course. In the 1920s it became known as the Children's Paradise. Now I'm assuming that's because of the sand dunes, but it may have been other things. Perhaps there was some sort of pleasure park here as well. Who knows? Obviously, like many of the estuaries and rivers that connect to the sea, it's again a haven for boat building, and you'll see beside me here that there is some boats, of course, pleasure boats these days mostly, but you can imagine that back in the 18th century and beyond, the fishing boats were providing fish for the county, I guess. And then there was the connection to London that I mentioned. The River Arun used to go, as I say, up to Horsham. Well, north of that it could connect, when they built it, to a canal, the Wey and Arun Canal. The Wey and Arun Canal connected, as the name suggests, from the Arun to the River Wey, and the River Wey connected to the River Thames, and the Thames, of course, we know is in London. And so as a result you had this rather special route inland that connected to London. And when there were troubles with France, many of the ships coming in and coming out, perhaps going to Spain or to the rest of the world, they could come into Littlehampton, change their cargo to barges and bring them inland, when it was a lot safer than going around the east of England to the River Thames, where of course they were open in the seas, to all sorts of problems from abroad. So that worked quite well. And as you might expect, the town itself is a mixture of Victorian, Georgian buildings. There are, as you approach the town, that is, there are some older buildings that still have their thatched roofs but have perhaps timber framed, but now are infilled with brick. So sometimes it's quite tricky to detect the age of some of these buildings, because like all buildings, they get refurbished, they get repaired and changed and modified as you go through time. The Arun Yacht Club behind me, with some splendid boats, and down below, if I can just show you down here, not so much the fishing these days, more pleasure. And of course, many people come down here to do just that. The tide is pretty low at the moment, being a tidal estuary, although you can get your boat out there and you can go out. Back in its heyday in the 18th century, when the tall ships were coming into harbour with their various cargo from abroad, wine from France, port from Spain, and all sorts of other supplies from all over the place, it would have been quite a magical sight. Sadly now, there are very few tall ships with the masts that would reach up to 100 feet and beyond. Here, as I come to the end of my little stroll, the slipway that takes you down to the water's edge. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little 10-minute walk, and that perhaps you will come and visit Littlehampton, a town made famous in 1967, I believe, when the Blue Peter television programme raised enough money so that Britain could have its very first lifeboat. And here am I, close to the lifeboat station. It's actually behind me, and I imagine it was here in 1967 they launched it. Well, as I leave Littlehampton to find somewhere else to take you, I hope that you'll subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, give me a good thumbs up. Don't forget to press the bell notification and leave a comment. That would be lovely. Well, on this early morning, until the next time, thank you very much, and I bid you goodbye.